Well, hello everybody. Here we are again, another run to Christmas 2023. Thank you guys for allowing me some time off, and it's so good to be back in this chair. Thanks everybody for being here. Mikey, Jessica, Ken, Chris, um, Dan, Holly, thank you for joining us here on this. I keep wanting to call episode one of this season, but I had that episode back in May with the Pepper Tree Villa Gang on the Hallmark Christmas ornaments. I guess that's technically the first um, episode of the season, but this one just feels like the first one because we're going to be back more regular now through Christmas. And I'll get more into that when we record the podcast proper. But stick around. You guys know that you're in the live stream. Stick around when I end the podcast. It's not over here on YouTube. We'll have a little time to chat with our guest. So let me get a drink and we'll go ahead and just start the podcast, and I can catch you guys up and everyone else at the same time. And man, feels good to be back in this chair. Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to Christmas Clatter. It feels good to be sitting in this chair, and thank you for allowing me to take some time off. My original plan of Christmas Clatter, and did it for several years, was to run year round, but I couldn't just do like once a month. I felt like I had to do more than that, and then as it works out and you go through the ebbs and flows, it's like I like this schedule. Let's just do it on a regular basis from July through Christmas, take a little break, come back for a Hallmark ornament special, and then take a brief break and return for Christmas in July. So that's what we're doing here. Special night tonight. We're recording this on YouTube Live because of our guest and time zones and all that stuff. But after this episode, we will be back on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Central Time. That will be not this next Wednesday that's going to roll around. That's going to be our week break because we will do every other week until October. And then October, the first Wednesday in October, we'll hit weekly through Christmas. So this is a special presentation. That's why we call it a special presentation, because it's on a special night. But have a lot to go over. We have a guest that's been here before, but it's been a while. You guys seen him in the comments before. I'm trying to think. I always do this. I always say that I got this housekeeping. I need to make a list of all the housekeeping news and notes and things that I'm going to do. One thing we will talk about is the theme of, I guess, kind of the reoccurring thing that will happen from now till Thanksgiving. And that is the Essential Christmas Music Playlist, or did I called it the Essential Christmas Playlist is what I called it. And it was spurred from the Christmas episodes I did last season on like the best Christmas songs by the numbers. Then I shared my personal list. And so then it was like, well, what are the essential Christmas songs? And I was going to do 101. Didn't happen. 101 did not happen. I could not get it down. I think I ended up with counting all the songs and all the various artists with them, with nearly like 400 songs. And I implemented the help of people like Duane Bailey, who we'll be talking to shortly, and his co-host on Tinsel Tunes, Scott Newman. I talked with Ken Smith. I talked with my cohorts from the Saturday Morning Mafia, Jerry D and Michael Christelman, and got some opinions from here and there. Listened to a lot of songs over and over again. And so there's been a few changes to that list. So there's no number attached. It is just the Essential Christmas Playlist. And every episode between now and the Wednesday before Thanksgiving here in the States, I will be giving, unveiling, I guess, 9 or 10 songs on the list with the last one being that Wednesday before Thanksgiving. That way it is a full playlist. And before each episode, I will update the playlist with the new songs. It's available on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube Music. Links are in the description. The songs for this week's episode are already on there if you want a sneak peek. I ask you, please don't go away to look at it. We'll find out soon enough after we talk to Duane. He doesn't know what they are. But a few stats and a few things I want to stress to everybody about this playlist. One, this playlist is not a ranking. It's not worst song to best song or best song to worst song. It's a list. The order of this list is completely random and not a ranking. Some of it is my opinion. Some of it is the opinion of others. There's songs on here I don't care for, but to others, they are very special. There's one song that I think might be a blaring omission, but I don't think it really is. The standards to make this list are confusing and hard to explain, and sometimes it's just a gut feeling you have to have on a song. Now, I didn't limit the number of songs, so we ended up with 122 unique songs. However, I did limit how many times those songs were represented on the list. One song can only be on there with two different artists' versions. So if there's a song on there, then it's either on there one time by one artist or it's on there twice by two artists. And I did not limit the number of times an artist can appear on the list either. That got to be too hard because originally I wanted to limit, how many times the artist was on the list. So a few brief stats. I apologize, looking off here to my trusty Post-it notes, but like I said, there's 122 unique songs. But by the time you add all the ones that have a double on there, there's going to be 170 songs total. So that's going to be a pretty good playlist. And there are also, I forgot to look to see how many unique artists I had on there. I'll get that at a different time. But the most one artist appears on the list is 10 times. That was the most. I think the next one was 8, then like 6, and then several at 5, and a handful at 3, and then a couple at 2, and then the rest were 1. So it's going to be an interesting list. And the way I chose the order was once I got the list completed and it was in alphabetical order, I took it to a random selector, put all the names in, and sat there and spun the wheel. A song popped up. I put it down. The song, came off that wheel. I spun it again. The song popped up. I put it down. So it's completely randomized. So that's why I'll probably be stressing that a lot, because a lot of people want to think that these things are rankings and then want to argue it's not a ranking. It's a list. It's a playlist. So that's the only thing I already covered. We'll be back, not this Wednesday coming up, but the one after, back on Wednesdays like normal. And, it's hot here. It was nearly 100 degrees here today in southeast Missouri. Humidity was high and thick. We had one carrier go home with heat-related illness. So let's travel to the part of the world that is experiencing winter time right now. Maybe he can bring in a little chilliness with him. He is the founder and co-host of Tinsel Tunes. He's more than an average drummer. He also likes his little twinkly blinky lights. Ran by AI. He is a mad computer genius. He's your and my favorite Christmas Kiwi. Let's talk with the phenomenal Duane Bailey. Hey, Duane, how's it going?
I'm going great. Hello, everyone.
So
That is such an intro. I just left me lost for words.
I was trying to think all day. Well, actually, all week. What I was going to say, I have to work that Christmas kiwi in there, uh, just because I used it on the last time you were on. So
Yeah,
I had to work it in there, and then you do so many things, and
I do. Yeah, I
and
don't sit still for very long.
no, you don't. So I wanted to try to work all that stuff in there. That's why I titled this. I forgot what I titled it. Lights, drumming, and tunes or something
Tinsel
like that,
tunes.
you
Yeah,
know. And so, but we talk a lot about Christmas music. We will get into Christmas music in a little bit later, but I want to talk about and forgive my American pronunciations if it's wrong. It's Townsend Christmas lights, right?
yeah. So it's Townsend. But
Okay.
Townsend. You know how Townsend can be spelt with or without an H.
Yeah.
Mine's with an H. It's the street I live in. So
Uh huh.
yeah, it's just Townsend Christmas lights.
Yeah. And what it's the synchronized lights. I have a video I'll play here, and for those watching on YouTube, and I had to pull the music off the videos because when you're streaming on YouTube and you play anything and it gets dinged for copyright, the whole stream just goes dead, and I'd have get logged back on
Yeah,
and start a whole new stream. So I picked a song that that people would know. That way they could kind of see what's going on, without actually hearing it. But what got you in to doing the Christmas lights?
well, it's my wife's fault. First of all, I'd like to say hi to Chris and Mikey. They've just said hello to me in the chat. So hi guys.
Yeah.
It's my wife's fault. Would have been back in about 2004 or five. My wife said because we used to go around and look at the one or two houses here that put lights up. It wasn't a big
Uh-huh.
thing in Hastings where I live, and my wife said, "I think we should do something like that." So I brought a couple of sets of cheap icicle lights from what we call the warehouse, which is I suppose it'd be like it's a cheaper version of Kmart essentially
Hmm.
back in the day. Strung those up, took one look at them, and they were just some cheap incandescent lights that weren't very bright at all. And I thought we could do better than that. And so over those years, I added lots more lights, and then I took a few years off because of my knees. I think a lot of people have heard that I had knee issues
Hmm.
on and off for a while, and came back to it about 4 years ago with these animated lights that you can see now. This is
Yeah.
last year's display.
Uh-huh.
So, as with most displays, I started fairly light, no pun intended, and added more items through the years. And that's last year's. That's where I'm at, uh, and I've got some new things to add for this year.
Oh, nice. Yeah, for
Yeah,
those just watching the video, the song is what "Look at My House" or something like that. But the
yep,
music is Trans Siberian Orchestra, Christmas Sarajevo, 1224 or whatever that song's called. You hear it all the time, for
yep,
especially for synchronized lights. Uh, but they put lyrics to it, and that's why the Christmas lights are singing there on the side. But if you just think of Trans Siberian Orchestra, you'll see the patterns and the lights for the music. But yeah,
yeah.
it's
And of course, on YouTube, you can go and have a look
yes, yes,
after this.
yes, the link for all Duane's lights and his drumming and everything are in the description. So, and he has multiple songs and for multiple seasons too. And I think he did a few Halloween lights things, best I remember.
I did some test items last year
Hmm.
at Halloween time, but it was an actual Halloween display.
Yeah.
Any
Okay.
excuse to put lights up early. So a few of the newer items that I was testing for weather, because we had a lot of rain not last year, the year before,
Uh huh.
and some of the items which were supposed to have been waterproof weren't, and it gave me a lot of trouble.
Right.
So last year, the year I took off from Tinsel Tunes is when I focused on getting everything perfect.
Right.
And yeah, so it wasn't an actual Halloween display as such. It was just like, oh, it's Halloween. I'll put a few things out, put some Halloween sort of colors on, and just had them for testing. So at the moment, I've got uh, so you can see on the house those two light bulbs.
Uh huh.
The pictures of the light bulb. That's an LED matrix board.
Okay.
And so what I've done, I've split that into four, and they're going to be sitting in between the arches.
Uh huh.
So yeah, the arches, those green, red, green ones on the fence. They'll sit in between there, and I've got those on test outside because it's raining a lot at the moment where we are as well.
Yeah.
Um, it means come December, if we get a lot of rain, I can trust that they're going to go through the season without giving me issues.
Yeah. I,
Yeah, and on
I,
the house where the matrix is will be a projector screen. So I'm going to projector in the middle of the house.
oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I imagine that's a pain to put up all those lights and then the weather come and take some out. And then it's like, oh my goodness.
Oh,
So,
exactly. Especially the rain, because what happens is the rain gets into where the pixels are,
uh
um, shorts out the data circuit, and then they just do weird stuff, and it won't stop doing that until they dry out. So essentially, that whole night is written off.
yeah.
So yeah.
So when you go into planning this, do you have like how do you even be, this is really cool. And I would love to do something like this, but that just made Holly scared because she knows I would take everything to 11, and so how do you even begin to plan something like this? Is it like you bought one thing and then slowly added on, or did you just all the way, dive in head first?
A little bit of both. So this particular display, um, on the very first year, I put a couple of things out to see if I could do it, and I didn't
Mm-hmm.
go on the light trail because I'm in a cul-de-sac. Nobody came down and saw it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that was mainly just to test to see if the Wi-Fi could reach and if I could do it,
Mm-hmm.
and it worked well. Then the following year, I added things like the arches, the what we call mega tree, which is on the gate, and a few other items. Then last year, added a whole bunch more. I basically look at it and go, what would look good there?
Mm-hmm.
So last year, I added on the front fence where the arches are. There's those little rods, and then this little like star things on top,
Uh-huh.
little bursts. They're new because I thought the fence needed something more, and
Right.
that's what I sort of came up with. Um, the stockings are new last year. Those are the two beside the mega tree. And you can't see in the video, but there's two bows underneath the main windows, and they're new as well. You can just sort of
Okay.
make them out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they pop up there a little bit. Now, does some of the stuff you build yourself with the lights, or you just kind of, um, outsource it and just buy it? Because on my mail route, I have people that do synchronized lights, and sometimes they build some of their stuff. They just buy the lights and then use some PVC piping and things to make.
Yep. That's
So,
is exactly what we do. So
okay.
the arches at the front are basically a clear tubing
Mm-hmm.
with the strip lights in and just bent to fit. Um, the bits by the arches that stick up is just PVC with the lights poked through.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, the mega tree on the fence there is like a skeleton. There's a pole that goes through the middle of the item and some spines, and then
Uh-huh.
the strip light just runs from top to bottom.
Oh wow.
And then at the end of the season, I can take that. I've done it in two pieces where I can fold it on itself, and then I can store it behind a cabinet here in the room. But everything is effectively homemade because here in New Zealand you can't buy a lot of the stuff that is just off the shelf from vendors in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So things like the stars, the icicles, you just buy those in Coro flute. They're already been punched with holes. They're already laser cut and everything. They're too expensive to buy in, so we have to get the Coro flute, design it, cut it, put the holes in it.
Yeah.
That takes a bit of time, and it's definitely a lot cheaper in the long run.
Yeah. Well, then there's also that satisfaction of doing it yourself.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know, so so because sometimes you buy something and then it's not quite what you wanted or not quite what you thought, but when you're doing it yourself, you can make sure it's
Yeah.
going to fit and things. But and this is just.
Exactly.
Do you have a dedicated computer for this?
I do. So, my main computer inside that I use for everything is what I use the programming on.
Uh-huh.
Once it's programmed, it's uploaded to a little Raspberry Pi.
Uh-huh.
So little central, what they call a single board computer, and it's about the size of a cell phone essentially,
Uh-huh.
and it sits and connects. In my display, it's a Wi-Fi display, so nothing is connected back to a main master controller. It's all distributed by Wi-Fi, and the Raspberry Pi just sort of sits outside underneath the eaves and with a wireless a router and just
Mhm.
sends the signals out to the little controllers on each item.
Yeah. So
So,
the
yeah.
computer decides the colors and the patterns, or is that something you program, or a little bit of both? Or
No, it's all programmed. So, a little program called X-Lights, which is a
okay.
free program that pretty much all the light enthusiasts use. There's another one called Vixen, which isn't as popular anymore.
Hmm.
Think of it like a spreadsheet. So down one hand side, you'd have all your items, so like arches,
Hmm.
windows, what have you, and then it's a timeline, and you just go and select an effect, drag it into the line, uh, pull it out for as long as you need, like 1 second, 2 seconds, what have you, and then just repeat that millions of times over.
Oh
So
my
it can take
goodness.
hours and hours to program
Yeah, like one
some of these
song.
displays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
So
my
what I've done,
goodness.
and you get really sick of the songs
Hmm.
because you're hearing. So, like this song here, the one that you mentioned, it's a funny song. It's a good song. People really liked it, but if I could never hear it again in my life, that would be too soon. Yeah,
I completely understand that.
yeah.
I
Especially if you're just doing one, say 1 or 2 minutes, and you might be there all night just trying to get every item to do what you want it to do.
uh-huh.
You can do whole what they call whole house items. So you might go whole house butterfly effect, and that's
Yeah.
done. Or you might go arches do this, uh, and like snowflakes do that. Like that effect, there's a whole house effect. So that
Okay.
like seconds.
Yeah.
But then if I wanted the arches to go red, blue, green, cut in and out, and what have you, you do that separately from everything else, and then
Yeah.
you move on to the next item and do the same thing. So
See,
yeah,
that's where
it
I
can
would
be
lose
as
it.
time consuming as you want, or as easy as you want, depending on how many hours you want to put into it.
Yeah. Yeah, but you got to do the you got to do it yourself so you can get exactly
Yep.
what you want. You get the cooler effect, and maybe come up with
Yeah.
something that maybe people haven't seen before, or
Well, that's right. Because you can buy sequence, so that's called a sequence.
mhm,
You can buy those in, and sort of adapt them to your display. A lot of people do that. I've done that on and off for certain effects,
mhm,
especially when I was learning the display. It was pretty basic, and it's like this doesn't look any good. So
right.
I'd borrow the free ones, put those in on my items, and then that was done. And then just sort of move around the display. It's a great way to learn the software
Right.
because it's pretty powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just wow. I didn't realize it was like I figured there was a way to do each individual control, but I figured for some reason I just thought, well, the computer figures it out. You know?
Yeah, it,
Yeah.
it you can have it so it's sort of like that, but really, the fun is saying, right, I want the tree to do this awesome thing that I've seen on
Yeah.
YouTube. You can either go and find a sequence for free if it's close enough, or figure out how it's done. Which is why we usually start earlier in the year,
Yeah.
so it's all done by about October, ready to put
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. You have to, because if it's not, then you're you're kind of wasting a lot of time, and then you'll never get it
Yeah,
done as the holidays get closer. You know.
exactly. You got to make the hardware reliable, but then you've got to make the sequence itself
Yeah.
enjoyable and the wow factor. So.
Yeah.
Um, because this type of display isn't huge in New Zealand, there's a small group of us on Facebook. Um, there's probably about 35 of us or so. Anyone who sees the displays are just knocked over because they've never seen anything like it. And in fact, I was at my local electronics store the other day and was buying some bits, and the young
Uh,
guy behind the counter goes, "Oh, what are you doing? Yeah, what are you using these for?" I said, "Oh, yeah, I'm just doing LED stuff." I didn't want
uh-huh.
to get into it. He goes, "Oh, yeah, I'm doing LEDs on my house this year." He said, "Yeah, I saw this house and it danced to music and it's on YouTube." I said, "Oh, where's the house?" He goes, "Here in Hastings somewhere." And I said, he pulled up that video and said, "Is it this one?" He goes, "Yeah." And I went, "It's my house." And I said, "Look, just reach out if you need any help." But I haven't heard from him yet, so
Yeah.
I'm sure I will when it's October and he hasn't started.
Oh, it'd be
Yeah,
like, well, it'd be October. That's a good start for Christmas 2024.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but
A great place to start would actually be inside on the Christmas tree. So you'd get the lights. So the lights come from China.
uh-huh,
Typically, I've got a supplier over there that I like to use, but typically they're all very much the same.
uh-huh.
And just do it inside on the Christmas tree. Then nobody can see it if you've made a horrible mess up of it, but
Yeah.
at the same time, it's a great place to sort of get in the ins and outs of the software and the hardware.
Let me make a note of that right now, Duane. Synchronized Christmas tree. I think that,
Yeah, I'm sure Holly would love that. About 5 of them.
yeah. Synchronized. Now, if I can get some synchronized kids, that'd be all right. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's a good
So,
idea.
in fact, the lights that are running behind me is the same technology. So it's the same lights, it's the same controller, and it's run through the same software, but I use them on my drum stream as well. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, you can use them for anything.
Yeah. See, I don't know how well you can see my lights up there, but they're LEDs, but they're GoV. So they have an
Yeah,
app to control them. It's not the, real high end software.
yeah,
But speaking of your drums, because you're just a music lover through and through. You told the story before about hearing Brian Earl talk about different Christmas podcasts. He mentioned Tinsel Tunes, a music podcast, and that's something that when I saw that video, that's something that kind of like hit me too. But it just didn't seem right. I just didn't
yeah,
feel like any. But then it wasn't long you popped up with it, and I was like, the right guy got it. And and you talked about your love of music from your dad playing in bands and stuff, and how you drum. And yeah, Holly says it's okay for the Christmas tree as long as she doesn't have to figure out the IT stuff. So that's the other.
just plug it and make it go. Yeah.
Yeah,
In fact, funny enough, it's all able to be controlled by she who can't be named.
yeah,
I didn't want to set up anyone's units if they happen to be listening in a room,
yeah,
because you can walk into the room and just say, turn on the Christmas lights, and then all of a sudden they'd all turn on. So
yeah,
it can be as simple as voice controlled as well.
yeah. We have our Christmas trees controlled on and off by, we call it the Googs, so it doesn't go off. And so so we're not too far from there, so we'll have to
Yeah,
think of something. But maybe we can run the lights around the whole house and then never mind. But anyway, back to music. You talked about your
yep,
love of music you got from your dad, and him playing. I believe it was guitar in bands and stuff, and you
yep,
became a drummer. And being a Christmas lover, you just took off with Tinsel Tunes and ran for that for a while. I had to take a little bit of a break because, like you said earlier, for some health reasons and surgeries and stuff, and handed that off to Scott and Newman, and then came
okay,
back.
yeah,
Yeah, and then came back, and now you and Scott are kind of tag team co-hosts on that, which is, I know it's nice, to have someone to share the load because you guys research pretty heavy at times. I've tried to
yeah.
look into research on Christmas songs, and it's not easy to look, in the history of Christmas songs, because sometimes there's just a lot of false narratives out there about them.
Oh, exactly. So when I'm doing the research, it's quite easy maybe just to go to Wikipedia, see what Wikipedia says, and use that verbatim. But 9 times out of 10, it's not correct. It's not, or it's close enough. It could be correct.
Yeah,
But then I always take what information I see from one particular source and see if I can match it through multiple sources,
yeah,
to verify that what we're saying is true as what we believe it to be.
right.
Sometimes we get it wrong, but usually not much. But yeah, as you say, some of the songs also have different origins, and even all the records can't decide which is the actual origin of the song. So you sort of got to cover them all.
Right.
It can really get to be quite the rabbit hole.
Yeah, it can be. And um, it's an amazing podcast for those that haven't listened. Please do go and take a listen. There's a whole back catalog there waiting to be binged for this Christmas season, and more coming on the way. You had a really great guest here.
Yeah,
We recorded last weekend, and that was a lot of fun to be a part of Tinsel Tunes and talk about Jingle Bell Rock. But I was going to talk about your drumming, but I got on the Christmas music. But
that's all right.
yeah, and talking about your lights for your drumming, it's like you just can't get enough of lights and music and media, so you start streaming on Twitch as the average drummer, which is a great name you're better than an average. You're better than an average drummer, but it is a great name, and you do it on YouTube. You do more reactions and stuff on YouTube's a little bit more stringent on the old copyright thing,
It
and
is.
makes it a little tougher sometimes. But doing a podcast on Christmas music and then doing all the lights and stuff. What made you want to start streaming as a drummer, just to get your chops in?
Yeah, so I'm self-taught. So I started getting an interest in drums around about, or when I was 16. So that would have made it 1986, when I tried to learn guitar from my dad. I'm left-handed by nature, so we found it extremely awkward to try to learn, because Dad wanted me to learn right-handed,
Uh huh.
and it wasn't natural enough for me, and I wanted to learn left-handed. And we got in a couple of arguments and then gave up. So
Right.
um, Dad's band used to practice in our kitchen sometimes, and I remember being able to sit on the drummer's kit and sort of have a bit of a bash around. And funnily enough, it sort of became quite natural to play a right-handed kit,
Uh huh.
right-handed as a left-handed person, because normally a left-handed kit, everything's on the opposite side. So I sort of took to it like duck to water and self-taught myself. So I've got a lot of technical things to work through, but it works for me, and I can hold a rhythm, and I can play a song. So that's why I call myself the average drummer, because I'm not great by any means, but I'm also not great. So I'm average. So
Yeah.
yeah, so it works out really well. I got onto Twitch mainly because I wanted to have a reason to play, because I'm not in a band. I don't want to really be in a band yet. And if I do, it just wants to be like a little three-piece playing some cocktail jazz or something at little
Right.
events and things like that, just as a hobby. Um, so I needed a reason. So I was doing YouTube covers, and that was fine. Um, it's very hard for a drummer to get momentum on YouTube, get a lot of subscribers.
Yeah.
And so I started to lose interest. And then somebody said, "Oh, why don't you do a reaction video to a certain song that came out?" I think it was Extreme, because they've come back with a new album,
Uh huh.
and I did a reaction to that song, and then I got quite a few subscribers from that, and people tend to react back to me, so
Uh huh.
I kept on reacting. So I've done a few. I haven't been able to get onto YouTube for about the last 6 weeks or so, just with work, and I
Hmm.
get home and I'm tired, or the puppy needs attention, or
Yeah.
now the lights, so they're taking preference again. But Twitch was a reason for me to get there, to get better, because I'm technically playing in front of people,
Uh huh.
and I didn't want those people to go, "Uh, you're no good. I'm not going to watch you," or anything like that. And the support from people watching the streams is amazing. People on Twitch are very, very supportive of creative people, because it takes a lot to get on the camera, as you
Yeah.
know, to
Yeah.
talk, put yourself out there, and especially when you've got a skill of some kind and you're putting it out there, and it might be, in my case, what I think is average. Um, and it's the negative feedback that you fear, and when
Yeah.
it doesn't come, you're sort of like, "Oh, well, actually, this is a thing. I might be that good, or good enough to do this and get people that want to have a listen, request some songs." And as a result, it means that I can take some of those technical issues that I've had and work on them,
Yeah.
and make myself a better drummer. So and that's what's been happening.
Yeah. I was talking to Ken Smith the other day about this. I don't want to deny that there's people with talent. There's people with immense talents. But for the majority of people, those that are really good at what they're doing, whether it's drumming or guitar playing or drawing or whatever, it's they just kind of just poke around till they get it right. And when they become
Yeah,
really good, it's because they poked around to get it right so many times, they know which direction to go already. It's just kind of, and I think a lot of people think, well, you got to have talent, and talent is a part of it, but you, you can learn a lot more. People can learn a lot more than they think they can.
yeah.
And
And having a passion, it's the
yeah,
passion. I mean, I've got drumsticks everywhere. I've got a pair in the car. I've got a pair on my computer desk inside. I got a pair beside the bed even. So sometimes if I'm just sort of, when we go to bed or what have you, and I'm watching YouTube videos, sometimes I'll just sort of do a bit of drumming on my knees or something like that.
Right.
Always drumming on the steering wheel of the car, drumming on tables. People are always telling me to stop drumming. Because that tapping means something to me, but it's annoying to everyone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
They can't hear the rest of the
yeah,
song. So,
yeah. I'm sure if I was a guitarist or something, I would have a guitar in the car at all times, and I would have a couple of acoustic ones around the house. I'd always be playing them because
yeah.
Dad was like that. He was always picking up a guitar and just noodling, as I call it.
Yeah.
And I do this. I got another kit as well. So the green kit that you've seen on the stream video,
Uh-huh.
that's an acoustic kit I converted to electronic.
Yeah. I saw
That
that
was
on
a
the cymbals.
huge, yeah. That was a huge change in the way I played because where I am, if I played an acoustic kit at 10 o'clock at night, the neighbors beside us would complain, and they
Yeah.
did complain. Not that I played at 10, but they just complained.
Yeah.
Um, so I converted it to electronic with electronic module, electronic skins, electronic sensors, then brought electronic cymbals. And I can play at 2 o'clock in the morning if I wanted to, and it doesn't bother anyone. Um, but as a result, playing on an electronic kit is different to playing on an acoustic kit.
Yeah.
So I've just recently brought a little acoustic kit. That the idea with that is I can take it places and play with other musicians for fun.
Uh-huh.
Mainly my brothers who both play guitar for obvious reasons. Um, and then I can just throw that in the car, go and just noodle around with them. And when I need to, I can practice with that. In fact, for Christmas, I want to play some brushes on the snare to some songs and hopefully record those, but you
Yeah.
can't do brushes on an electric kit. So
Right.
I can do those on the acoustic kit.
Yeah. Yeah. Years ago, I play bass or attempt to, and playing at a church, and they switched from an acoustic drum kit to electronic. I was probably the saddest person in the world as a bass player because it's like, okay, I can hear the drums, but I cannot feel the drums, and it's just not the same.
Yeah.
It's just like all the analog is gone. All the moving air is just gone, and
Yeah.
it
It's
was
a
a
definite
change.
feel to acoustic drums over electrics.
Yeah,
If I had the choice, if I could only get one kit, it would be electric because I can make them sound any which way I want.
yeah,
With the acoustic kit, if I don't like cymbals, I'm going to go and spend good money buying expensive cymbals just to get a sound, whereas I can get a reasonably good sound out of a decent sample.
yeah,
But like I say, it just means that my son can be in the room on his Xbox while I'm playing on the electric kit, and it doesn't bother him.
yeah,
As soon as I jump over to the acoustic kit, he's out. So,
yeah.
yeah,
So there's
there's so
sometimes
much
you
better
want
for
to play
people
the,
around.
yeah,
Yeah,
yes. There's sometimes you want to play the acoustic kit.
yeah,
Well, that's fantastic. Like I said, you do so many things, and with Tinsel Tunes, and well, you're going into your 5th year of Tinsel Tunes this season.
yes, yeah. So next month, August, is our 5th anniversary. So we'll be
Yeah.
starting our 6th year. I didn't think I'd be 2 years into it, let alone 5 years into it. Obviously, it's only 4 years for me because Scott and Jay took over for that year.
Yeah,
But I was glad when I stepped aside, I missed it quite a fair bit. And even though at that point it was starting to get, the research was time consuming and started to get a bit of a pain in the neck. And obviously, I had knee issues and health issues, and the lights when I dedicated the year to getting those right.
right.
Missed the podcast big time. And so when I said to Scott, because Jay stepped aside to do his own thing, and I said to Scott, I said, well, why don't I come on as a guest once or twice? So I did that. And then I said, so why don't I come back full time and we do this thing together? And
Yeah,
he was stoked.
yeah,
I don't know if stoked means, but he was very happy.
yeah,
And yeah, we haven't looked back since. So it works out really well. We both do the research, and then we do the recording, and Scott edits together and puts it out. So, which should be one dropping in the next 3 or 4 days. Usually, at the end of the month, he puts it out.
yeah, yeah.
So,
It's Scott's a podcast machine.
oh yeah,
Scott
definitely.
he's all over the place. But yeah, I wish people could have saw us when we finished recording that Jingle Bell Rock episode, and we were just sitting there talking, the three of us, and you said something about Tinsel Tunes turning 5. I'm like, well, Christmas Clatter just turned 4, and it's like we
Yeah.
looked at each other and we're like, Can you believe we've been doing this that long?
I know. And I think I was listening to Tim the other day. Can't wait for Christmas. I think he
Yeah.
just celebrated his 8th year, perhaps.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my Lord, it's sort of like, it only feels like all these podcasts are a couple of years old,
Yeah.
but they're not. They're actually getting on a bit, just like the hosts, really.
Yeah. Well, when I came on, Scott introduced me as like one of the godfathers of the Christmas podcast. I'm like, no, I'm kind of like the second round guys. I always feel like
Yeah.
we use like the second round, second generation, because there was Tim and Brian, and then My Merry Little Podcast, and then Christmas Stockings. I
Christmas
think.
stocking.
And
yeah.
And Tis the Podcast that I believe is in that group too.
Yep.
And then I feel like me and you and Mike Westfall, kind of like that second generation coming up, and then Chris Sicily from Christmas Time in the City says, not exaggeration to say that Tinsel Tunes changed the course of my entire life. I'm beyond grateful to Duane and Todd. So thank you so much, Chris,
Yes.
for saying that for us.
And I was on their podcast once or twice. I think it might have been once, and it was absolutely a hoot to talk to other people across the world.
Oh yeah.
Both Chris's are amazing. It was. I miss their podcast. Chris, I don't know if you're going to be bringing it back, but I really miss your podcast.
Yeah.
It was great to hear how a different city, in this case New York, did Christmas compared to how we do it here, and because obviously how you do it there, and it was just a nice window into another life.
Yeah. It was a great podcast. I remember hearing their first episode and messaging Brian Earl, and I was like, once this Chris and Chris get going, they're going to be really great, because I could just hear it. And of course, speaking of podcast machines, Chris has turned into a podcast machine. He is editor, producers extraordinaire now, and it's really great to see. So,
and Lenora's in the house.
Yes,
as the kids say these days.
Yeah, that's exactly what they say. Yeah. So
Lenora's got the support that she gives all the podcasts is absolutely mind blowing and so appreciative.
It is. It's greatly appreciated, and I just don't know how she has so much time to keep up with everybody. But I'm glad she does. So glad she does. Well, Duane, let's talk about the essential Christmas playlist.
Let's do.
And you had valuable input on certain songs and things, and I'm not sure which. I had songs from you and Scott and others that were all like, marked, and then I erased all the markings because I didn't want any influence.
Oh yeah.
And I listened to all the songs at work. I'd listen to the songs, I'd listen, and I'd listen to versions back to back, and then go back to back, and that's what I've been doing since I've been off. Is trying to.
So you're a Christmas song down now, yeah?
Not really. I'm actually kind of excited, for this playlist, and I'm just gonna put it up here. Let me find where I have the. Well, did I not bring it in? I did not bring it in. Let me take. Yeah, here it is. Sorry, I had it labeled odd. So here it is. This is the first round. Again, this is not a ranking. This is not in any order. Completely random. The first 10 songs. Of course, there's more than 10 songs because there's multiple artists on here. Warmer in the Winter. Lindsey Sterling. She's the violinist. We have Last Christmas by Wham. You Make It Feel Like Christmas, Gwen Stefani. Christmas Baby Please Come Home. We have Darlene Love and U2 on there. One More Sleep, Lenoa Lewis. Go Tell It on the Mountain. We have the version that includes Frank Sinatra and Bing Crosby. We also have the Dolly Parton version. The Chipmunk Song featuring the Chipmunks. Mary's Boy Child. That's supposed to say Boney M, not Money M. I'll have
Yep.
to change that. Must have been spell check got me there. But Mary's Boy Child by Boney M and Harry Belafonte. I Believe in Father Christmas, Emerson, Lake and Palmer. God Rest You Merry Gentlemen, or We Three Kings. Bare Naked Ladies, Sarah McLachlan for one version, and Mannheim Steamroller on the other. So what do you think of this list of 10 songs to kick off the essential Christmas playlist?
I quite like that list, especially with Last Christmas being on there. And the Emerson, Lake and Palmer, I Believe in Father Christmas, is one of those songs that it's got I think it's got a sad, because we haven't covered this song yet, but I think it's got a sad meaning, but it's doesn't come across that way,
Right.
if mean rightly. But it's certainly one that I like a lot of. And yeah, and all the others. The only one I'm not familiar with would be the Leona Lewis and Lindsay Sterling, but everything else with there is very familiar.
Yeah. The Lindsay Sterling is one I like. It features Trombone Shorty in this version. And the Leona Lewis one might be one once you play it, you might recognize it. The I Believe in Father Christmas, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, when I saw that on the list, because I don't believe that wasn't one I put on there myself. I was like, what song's this? And as soon as I
think I did that one.
As soon as I heard it, I was like, oh yeah, this has got to be on the list, because I loved it every time it plays, you know, and things, you know. So it's like, you know, it got put on the list to be included, you know, and then pared down from there. And it's not there's a song, it's not on this list, but there's a song that almost got 3 artists because I just couldn't get it knocked out. But you know, probably the newest song on here that I can think of off the top of my head is You Make It Feel Like Christmas, Gwen Stefani. That song has quickly become a holiday staple, you know. Features Blake Shelton in that, and it's like I said, it's maybe 3 years old-ish, 4 maybe tops, and it's quickly become a staple.
Well, I think that album's becoming quite a popular option for people.
Yeah.
And isn't it funny how certain songs or certain artists just seem to break through, whereas others who are just as good, if not better, just can't get traction?
Right. Yeah.
There's no rhyme or reason to it, really.
Yeah, it's like Gwen Stefani's Christmas album. When I first listened to it, I was like, oh, this is all right. But then it's like I found myself listening to it a lot. And then Meghan Trainor comes out with one, and I love Meghan Trainor, but I was like, I listened to it, and it's like, oh, this, you know, I felt kind of the same way about the Gwen Stefani, but then I never really listened to it much after that.
Yep.
You know, except for her one song, I'll Be Home. Other than that, but that song's been around a lot longer than her full album. So, yeah. But yeah, this is the first list. All these songs are available on Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube Music. The link to the playlist is, you know, whichever streaming service you prefer. It's down there, so you can click on it and then follow the playlist, and then it'll be updated. Every episode will unveil some more. But Mary's Boy Child, originally it was just Harry Belafonte, and then someone had the Boney M, not Money M, Boney M on there. And I was like, oh, I need to listen to that. And I was like, oh, yeah. And that was one that I was coin flipping, and I thought, well, a song can have 2. So I'll put 2 on there.
Yeah, I think I might have put that one on there because that song's huge over here at Christmas time.
Yeah.
It's one of the, say, maybe top 5 to 10 that they play sort of every hour through the season. So yeah, it's quite a big number, that one.
Yeah, there's a few on here I think that have you know, that are more popular, like you said, there in New Zealand, and some that are definitely more popular in like the UK and stuff. But being essential, you know, I try to define what that exactly means, and there's different ways you can define it. And I didn't want to be, you know, American centric about it. I wanted it to be, you know, it's like no matter where you're from, you know, there's things that you need for life that are essential. So it's like, this is like a playlist you need for Christmas. So it doesn't matter where you're from. It's going to be a playlist that it will work for your Christmas, that kind of thing, you know?
Exactly.
But Guys in the comments have let me know what you think. It's seeming like he's like one more sleep with a question mark. Yeah, that might not be one people know, but it made the cut. It's just, I believe, because one of the, like I said, the criteria is really all in my head and hard to explain. And one of the things I try to do is like, if I had to tell somebody if I had to get someone a list of songs let's say there's someone, an alien or something that does no idea what Christmas is, and the only way they can understand is through song. What list of songs would I give them to fully explain what Christmas is? That was another kind of check mark thing that was going through my head on this. So I wanted to find songs that kind of, there's one song that I really love didn't make this list, and so I try to be as above board and logical as possible.
Yep,
but but that is the first installment of the Essential Christmas playlist. Again, links in the description if you want to follow it. If you want it on Amazon Music, let me know. I did what I consider the big three. I can put it on Amazon Music if you guys would like, but just let me know. And we got one more thing to do, Duane, before we let you go. We're playing a little, and I'm going to try to do this with every guest this season. Playing a little Mad Libs Christmas. So, for those that aren't familiar with Mad Libs, I gave Duane a day or so ago a list of types of words he needs to come up with. He has no context of the story. And this is what he had, and this is what he came with. He needed a verb, a place, a noun, an adjective, another noun, and so forth and so on. And he just gave me the random words off the top of his head, without knowing exactly what it is. And so let's see what kind of story you wrote, Duane.
Yeah.
And the story is actually called Santa is Coming. You better watch out. You better not slow, because Santa Claus is coming to Santa's workshop. Santa hails from the frigid North Monkey, where he lives with his tasty wife, Mrs. Claus. Santa runs a magical teacher workshop where adorable elves build every kind of toy you can imagine, from table trucks to wooden foxes to baby dolls that stretch when you tickle them. On Christmas Eve, Santa loads up his sled, which is pulled by 8 flying pencils, and one reindeer named Rudolph, who has a shiny red elbow to light the way. Then Santa and his reindeer fly around the world, bringing cups to all the little girls and potatoes. If you leave him some milk or some cookies and water, he'll eat them happily. Ho, ho, ho. He'll laugh, and his belly will shake like a bowl full of lasagna. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good goose. So, yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. But it's just something fun I was wanting to do with the guest to kind of end the episode, because sometimes we just kind of cut it off and it doesn't end well. But Duane, I really appreciate you joining me here on Christmas Clatter to kick off this season, this run to 2023. I have all your links in the description, but for those that are just listening, let people know where they can find you.
The easiest way is probably my link tree, which is link.ee, like Linktree. Hopefully everyone knows how to do that. The Average Drummer, and that's probably the easiest way. Otherwise, tinseltunes.com, and for the Tinsel Tunes podcast, and on YouTube and Twitch, it's also just the Average Drummer. So I've sort of kept it fairly simple. On YouTube, it's Townsend Lights, Christmas lights. That'll get you to the light display as well. You shouldn't have any issues finding those. So, yeah, I'm all over the place.
Yeah. And for those listening to the podcast, they will be in the show notes. So You guys get a chance. If you can't look at it now, just wait, come back, open the show notes, and you'll just be a tap away from Duane and all the wonderful things he's doing. If you're just listening to the podcast, I greatly appreciate it. It means more than you know. But if you can make it to a live on YouTube and just sit with us and interact with us, we'd really love to have you. I understand with schedules and things that it might be tough for some, and we completely understand. But we really would love to see you here as we build the best Christmas community on YouTube, the best that we can. And also, you'll miss out on the little extra we're going to do with Duane as soon as we end this podcast. We'll have some time in the chat to talk with some people, see what's going on. So we'll be back in a couple of weeks. Not this, like I said, not this Wednesday that's coming, but the Wednesday after. And we greatly appreciate it. And remember, until next time, keep Christmas hope alive every day. All right, guys. Yeah, Chris, I'm not sure which comment went away there, man. I need to rearrange these comments. They got ugly looking. But yeah, it's I don't know. I'm not sure what happened. I apologize for that. It just do this. See if that's any better. Well, it just made his name white. Anyway, so I'm not sure what happened there, bub. I'm sorry. Is there anybody with any questions in there? I know Mikey asked, is One More Sleep a cover from the Muppets Christmas Carol? I do not believe it is. If it is, I might have missed it. Let me look here. Guys, I don't know if you remember last year, my computer would freeze up all the time. I got me a new laptop, and it doesn't freeze up hard. It never freezes up. And the cool thing about it is I usually have too many tabs open and don't know where anything is anymore because it just keeps going. So let me look here. I do not believe it is. No, it's not a cover. I believe it's her own song. But let me double check to make sure. No, this song came out in 2013. Is when. Yeah, she's a British singer. So 2013, Simon Cowell was the one that gave her the idea of recording the Christmas album. So thank you.
Of course he did.
Yeah. Oh, what a genius. You're a singer. You need to come up with a Christmas album. What a stretch. So but no, it's not a cover of the Muppets Christmas Carol. It's an original song. So I didn't think it was. I don't remember One More Sleep from a Muppets Christmas Carol. A lot of those musical songs, I don't, off the top of my head, I can't ever picture them. I know them when I hear them, but just something about musicals the songs don't stick with me too much about, being able to recall what they are exactly.
Yeah, and I wasn't really big into Muppets at all, so I haven't hunted out any of the Christmas ones. So when the other podcasts will start talking about the Muppets Christmas, I'm sort of in the dark. I can't sort of get any idea of what they're referencing.
Yeah.
Maybe one day.
Yeah.
I'm also that kind of person who doesn't watch any Harry Potter films or Breaking Bad or what's the other one? Game of Thrones, any of that stuff. Because I'm too busy doing other things. I don't have time. So,
all things I've never seen ever before either.
Yeah.
So, it's like,
So I did make time the other day to watch the Flash film, and that's time I'll never get back.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand. I think I seen the first Harry Potter movie, and I was like, okay, that was fine. I just didn't, I didn't know anything that they were talking about. I know when you jump into a movie, they're going to have like dialogues and stuff like this and things that you have to like catch up on, but it was so thick on all that. It was just like, man, it's just didn't. But back to the Muppets, since we're not doing the podcast and you guys are in the chat, how about a sneak hint? There are Muppets that appear in the Essential Christmas playlist, so they are represented. Some of their songs are represented there by them. So that's a little teaser. Does anybody have a question for Duane or myself before we let him get off to his Saturday, which is like time travel?
Yep. Yeah. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So this morning, my wife and I went and walked across. I can't walk across water. We walked along the waterfront.
Yeah.
With the dog. It's 13 degrees Celsius, 55 degrees your temperature, and it's just a great way to start the weekend. Then popped on and doing this. So after this, I've got some Christmas light stuff to do. You couldn't see it, but in the video, there's 2 candy cane poles, as they call them. So they're just PVC pipes with a light on top, and they're painted red and white. So they don't stand out at all at nighttime. So I'm wrapping those in lights. So this year they'll stand out as red and white striped poles in the display as well.
Yeah, that's
so
cool.
I'm working on. Did one last night. I'll do the other one today after this.
Yeah.
So it's quite. I mean, most people probably think this way as well, but when you've got multiple hobbies, you sort of wake up perhaps, or if you've got yourself some time, you sort of stand there and go, which one do I do?
It sounds like me exactly.
Yeah.
It's like,
do I do the lights? Do I do the drums? Or, it's like.
Sometimes you just feel inspired to do one over the other, and even though one of them might have something pressing that needs to be done, you're like, I just don't feel like working on that one right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I just did the conversion. I told you it was 100 degrees here. Today, that's 38 degrees Celsius. And,
see, that's not right.
Yeah.
I shut down around about 30, so 30 to 32. So if we get summer, because as you know, it's winter here, though it feels so much like spring at times. But if we get the summer like what you guys are having, I'm just going to clock out. And I'll be done. But the display will melt and I'll melt.
Yeah,
it's crazy. That's crazy temperatures.
Yeah, it's funny. We had a pretty good spring this year, and they got a little warm in June, unseasonably warm, but it was real dry. And Holly's brother from California came to visit, and it's real dry out there. And we're like, well, it's kind of the same weather you've been having, And then we had like 2 weeks of thunderstorms every day, and now it's been just face of the sun, and we get full 100% humidity to go with it. So like the heat index was, 100. I think it was like 118 or something today. I guess that'd be like 41, 42 degrees Celsius, something like that. And it's just,
so Mikey's just saying that he's about to shoot off. So thank you for coming into
Mikey,
into the stream.
Thanks so much
and
for
there's
being
one
here
from Ken. Yeah, so see, there's no work for me today.
Yeah.
So Ken's asked, are those light bulbs doing the singing in the display? So they're images of light bulbs on the matrix. So so next year they'll come, those images will come through the projector onto a screen, so it'll be a lot clearer. As well as I'm hoping to be able to use some short video like Christmas Chronicles, the song that Kurt Russell sings. I'll put that one back in the display, and I hope to use the jail scene video that I have procured in a way. And there's always a degree of copyright when you do music and like displays, just like you would on YouTube and Twitch and whatnot. So we just hope that we can get away with it.
Yeah.
So,
but you're not making any money off of it, so.
No. And it is broadcast over a small, low-powered FM transmitter, so the cars in the street can listen to the music while watching the display. So yeah, and that's all legal, but sometimes the songs they aren't, and you just hope you can get away with them.
Yeah.
And for most cases we do. I think it'll be quite the Grinch to report a display to say, hey, they're using copyrighted material, when it's for the community.
Yeah. Yeah. Retro Nerd Girl jumps in and says hello. And so thanks for hopping in here, Retro Nerd Girls. If anybody doesn't know, she does retro pop culture watching on YouTube and does some really cool stuff and pulls some names out of the hat that I hadn't heard about in a long time, and does some watch alongs, some old movies. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, but guys in the chat, thanks for joining me and Duane here, and we really appreciate it. And like I said, we'll be back in a couple of weeks with another episode and another installment on the Essential Christmas playlist. So keep your eyes on the social media, and let's get to Christmas 2023. I am ready, man.
I can't wait.
I am ready for Christmas. I hope everybody likes the new graphics and colors for the podcast. I'm not sure if they'll be around for next season or not. I kind of missed the classic green colors, but I just like the retro vibe and been enjoying it. But
I went to do a graphic last night to put onto Facebook about the episode that you're coming up in, and I'm no good. And I did up a graphic, and then I remember what you told me about your graphic, and I'm like, I can't even get close. I'm just going to go text only.
Yeah, I do that a lot.
Yeah, it's like I can't get it that good because mine was going to be happy 5th birthday, and then the 4 different logos that we've had in each corner, and I'm like, that just looks rubbish. So, yeah.
Oh, I understand. There's a lot of times I'll spend hours in front of this computer screen designing stuff, and then it'll be like, look at it, just highlight it, select all, delete. You know, it's like.
But I've done that with a few podcast episodes as well. I listen to it back, and you go, no.
Yeah.
A couple of times I've recorded with a mute on the microphone. That's always fun.
Oh yeah, there's a few times I recorded without hitting record, and it's like, hey, can we do that all over again? You know.
Yeah.
So. Oh, but Sean says you need to have a local choir to record music for you. So
that'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be cool. But yeah, that would be. We got a thing coming up called Tunes at Twilight. It's like a Friday nights at like 6:30 through the fall, where it's a free little thing of this old courtyard square, and they just have some acoustic acts come up, and they stand on the gazebo and play music, and I'd like to make that if I can. I don't know if you ever seen I don't know if you ever seen the movie Gone Girl or not. But Ben Affleck, it's the gazebo he stands at the rally for his missing wife or whatever. I didn't even see the movie because the movie was shot in our hometown here and stuff. But all right, guys, again, thank you for joining me in the chat. Duane, thanks for kicking off Christmas Clatter.
It's been a pleasure.
And guys, again, I said it before, I will say it again. And till next time, remember, keep Christmas hope alive.